The legacy of John McGraw is one filled with controversy, but also incredible success. He's an impressive display of what a St. Bonaventure alum can truly do once graduating from the school. Yet at the same time, much of the infamy that surrounds him kind of casts a shadow over his overall success, which I think is complicates his legacy, but also makes him an interesting figurehead for early St. Bonaventure alums. So, looking at him prospectively, or at least from the start, he is statistically, his stats are incredible, essentially. He was a player manager, although he kind of spent time doing one or the other. As a player, I'll show you his stats. They're quite incredible. His baseball reference page is one of the more impressive ones from early eras. He didn't make the Hall of Fame as a player. However, once he became a manager, he really shined. He put together almost 3,000 wins, 10 pennants, and 3 World Series titles, most of which his time was spent with the New York Giants. He was an incredible coach, incredible manager that quite frankly was an easy Hall of Fame cast. So that's, an impressive feat. But that's not really where the controversy comes about. It's mostly his personality, which was known around the league as boisterous, sometimes difficult to deal with. A lot of it beginning stems with his initial appearance in the American League. As a player and manager for the Baltimore Orioles, he was pretty vocal about his opinions, especially towards umpires. He was constantly in the bad graces of the league commissioner, Van Johnson, to the point that in July of, I believe, his second year, he was actually banned from the league, at least for the rest of the year. This eventually led to him taking a job with the New York Giants in the National League. Ultimately, this kind of brings into focus the negativity around his personality. And Don Jensen, a guy who covers him extensively through the Society of American Baseball Research, pretty much clarifies that he was known as Little Napoleon for his short stature and boisterous, if not aggressive personality. He was known as a dictatorial manager for his aggressive methods. And even beyond that, he just found ways to rub people the wrong way. He was ejected from 118 games by umpires, which stood as a record till 2007. His former coach, a fellow coach for the Giants, Arlie Latham claimed that McGraw eats gunpowder every morning for breakfast and washes it down with warm blood. Ultimately, he built this reputation that was quite negative, and a lot of it just stemmed from his beliefs in his excessive speaking out for what he believed in. He's also known, as this quote from a journalist from the time period said, McGraw uses every low and contemptible method that his erratic brain can conceive to win a play by a dirty trick. So essentially, he was the kind of guy who found every way possible to help his team win, and many people saw this in a negative light, which kind of builds on this aura of this negative character. It also doesn't help that, according to Jensen, he was constantly involved with negative things off the field as well. He owned a pool room in Manhattan with Arnold Rothstein, the principal financial backer of the 1919 World Series fix, an obvious blemish on his record. He also part-owned a racetrack and casino with the part owner of the Giants, which eventually helped him kind of establish himself as a figurehead within the Giants organization, aside from just being the manager. He also had a stint in 1912 in the vaudeville, which was kind of a racy form of theater at the time as well. So just outside of the field, he was also finding ways to kind of create controversy. So that leads me into my final point. Listen, the guy was controversial. He was outspoken and many times rubbed players, league officials, other managers the wrong way. But at the same time, you can greatly appreciate this guy's skill as a manager, his ability to win ball games, and his ability to pretty much be who he wanted to be as a manager, which eventually earned him a spot in the Hall of Fame. As future Bonaventure alums, we can appreciate that and ultimately recognize that he was a controversial figure that had some very, very interesting stories that I think are really add to the aura of St. Bonaventure and to even MLB history.